right, man. Welcome back to Agree to Disagree. And if you're new, welcome BG, Craig, and we got Pops. All right, man. This topic, this team's a little disappointed, man. From my standpoint, just because every year when they lose in the playoffs, I swear their next year is their next year, and we kind of been doing it for the last 2 years, maybe three, but last 2 years for sure. The Boston Celtics, man, they got a lot of young talent, got a young coach, highly respected, but they're 500 right now and blew a big lead to the struggling Pelicans, who are also off and on. So, my question to you guys is, man, what's going on in Boston? What's their biggest struggle? Anything you guys see? So I'm gonna start with you, Jay.
I mean, I think they're struggling as a whole. Obviously, I've been disappointed in Kimba though. Me personally, I thought when they got Kimba, man, Kimba was a 26 point per game guy, 3-time All-Star, and he's averaging 17 right now, 37 from the field, 34 from three. That's just from a production standpoint, man. I just felt like they thought they were going to get more. He's not Kyrie Irving, but I think they felt when they made this move that he will be comparable in terms of number production. And he just hasn't been able to be that. Now, in his defense, I feel like you got to know what kind of player you're getting. When I say this, I don't want y'all to give me the crazy look, but I compare him to a poor man's AI in terms of rhythm. Like AI got buckets, but he had to be in a certain rhythm. Like AI is not, you can't give the ball to AI every 5 or 6 possessions. AI had to get volume. And I think Kimba was very similar in Charlotte. He got a volume and a high number of possessions. He's not that, not even close, but he hasn't been able to adjust his game based on the fact that he gets a limited number of possessions in their offense. He still hasn't figured that out. Like he just looks out of place to me still in that offense that they run. So, and then defensively, he's not going to give you much. I mean, I know obviously it's hindsight's 2020, man, but you look at what Terry Rozier is doing in Charlotte. I wonder now if people are looking at it like, man, he's averaging 22. I mean, they're not really winning as much, but he's playing well. So, yeah, man, I think he has to give them more individually. There are obviously a lot of team issues and things I know you guys are going to cover, but I just want to focus my attention on Kimba mainly, feeling like he's got to give them more on both ends of the floor.
Agreed. Go ahead, BG.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up, Jay. And you said it too, John. Like he's a young coach. Obviously, he's fairly young in age, but and I love everybody who knows me knows I love Brad Stevens. I've loved how he coaches since Butler, what he did with Butler to go back-to-back national championships, what he's done with the Celtics. Being so young when he came in, like I think the time that clock is ticking. That seat's getting a little hotter because obviously, you brought Kyrie in, you brought Gordon Hayward in for whatever reason it didn't work, right? And then like Jay said, you bring in Kemba, who I think I had it too. The last 8 games, he's kind of starting to figure it out a little bit, and they're kind of playing a little bit better. Besides, obviously blowing that lead with the Pelicans, but there's always that, and John said it best. There's always that, man. Next year they're going to be all right because you got 2 guys averaging 26 to 25. Jared said it best. If Kemba could get to that level again, they could be a problem. But for whatever reason, I feel like they're just missing something. And I know Brad Stevens knows what he's doing. He's a heck of a coach, but it's for whatever reason, something's not working, something's not clicking. And obviously, losing to the Heat, obviously last year, I think the Heat were just hot, but that was a good series to watch. But I don't know. Something's going on. I don't know. I don't think it's anything bad, but it's just I feel like they're gonna be that team that the what if, man. Like what if he would have came out and done this? What if this would have worked out? And then to Jay's point too, you bring in a guy like Kemba, who was Charlotte, was the man, right? He got all the volume shots you talked about. He was the man. I think he went to like one playoff series and got swept by LeBron. But then you come to a team with two other guys that can hoop, and you come in and you're supposed to be the guy that came in after Kyrie. You're not the guy that they brought in before Kyrie. You're the guy that they said, all right, Kyrie didn't work. We're bringing you in now. And they went all in on him too. So he's been hurt. They've had injuries, but now, I think they're okay. I think they're missing something. I just don't know exactly what it is. And I'm not trying to blame Brad Stevens, but I think that clock is starting to tick a little bit because, he, for whatever reason, he can't get over the hump.
Great. Craig?
Yeah. One thing I discussed before with John about even last year is that the Celtics have way too much talent. You know what I mean? And when I say that, as a coach, you have to know how to make that talent work. And I really like Brad Stevens. But, when you look at the numbers, I wouldn't panic too much about the Celtics because, again, I think we're dealing with different times. It's like, even though they're 500, they're still 4.5 games back. You know what I mean? If you look at like 4 through 10, everybody's the same. So I think, I think the clock is starting to tick with Brad Stevens, but I think come playoff time, I think they have a chance to show what they can do. But at the same time, it's tough now that you got the Sixers balling and you got the Nets. It's like that window. That's why, as a team, as a coach, when that window's open, you got to take advantage of it because it don't stay open very long. You have you have the, Sixers, jumped over them this year. So I think we'll definitely see some changes after this year. But I definitely want to see what's going to happen in the playoffs because I think that's something that'll happen because there's so many teams that are so close together. You really won't know who they are until it comes to the playoff time.
Popology.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, real quick. My bad, Pops. And I forgot. I had it in my notes.
That's okay.
Jason Tatum being out with the COVID protocols, right? That he was out for a while too. So I think that plays into a little bit, Craig being a stats guy brought up. I mean, like I didn't even know they were that close. Even though they're 15-15 or whatever it is, they're still there. But I think injuries and obviously with everything with COVID protocols going on this year, I think that affected them. But I could see it happen. I could see it, turning around too. But we'll see. My bad, Pops.
No problem. There's something going on, but here's the what's going on. One problem that they do have. Because that window is closing. That window is closing. That window don't stay open long. The one problem is they're missing a big piece in Marcus Smart. That's a big piece for them. Now, Kemba's been hurt. But here's the problem what most teams have that's even in the league now. There's no true point guard anymore. Kemba is a scoring guard. So Kemba got to score. Tatum got to score. Jaylen Brown has to score. And one thing, if there is a blame game, I'm going to put the blame on Danny Ainge. The Celtics had about 20 number one picks in the first round. And he haven't addressed that bench not one time. Who is on the Celtics bench that we kind of know, that we know?
The shooter from Oregon.
Pritchard's okay.
He's Pritchard. Yeah, and
I like him.
He was a 4-year guy at Oregon.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, through Celtic history, they always had 2 or 3 guys on that bench that when they come in, what's coming. Even down to the Havlicek days, what's coming. The Celtic bench, you don't know what's coming. And they haven't made that team stronger. They got a solid 5, but they even on the 5 spot, they need a 5. If that's the case, go try to get Andre Drummond. Do something. You need help. But the way they losing them games, they're losing games, because they always prided themselves on the defensive end. And that's what makes Marcus Smart a big issue. Jay brought it up. Kemba is a liability. Then Terry Rozier was different. But you figure once we do this, Kemba's a great locker room guy. Kyrie wasn't. I get it. All you did was call yourself trying to change money. That's what you did. But it's the way they're losing these games. You got to address. You got to have something coming off that bench, man. That's always been the bench is really one of the problems. They don't know. All the other teams got something coming off that bench. Something. The Celtics, you go like, oh, who's he? You don't know it. It ain't like it's Vinny the Microwave Johnson. You don't know what's coming off that bench. You just don't know. So I'm putting the blame on Danny Ainge with all those 20 number one picks that they had, and now this is what they got showing for it. They have
He came out and said it too, though. I don't know if you saw that pause. He came out and said, "This is on me." He's like, "I got to figure out how to make this work." Yeah, he came out and said it.
I mean, you got a superstars in Jaylen Brown and Tatum. Them are fire. But now, what's the other third card that they need? Because they know their role. That's one thing about them two. They know what their job is to do. It seems like everybody else trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I mean, I've seen Kemba miss some of his patent move shots for game winners. You can't do that. So Kemba almost got to do like James. Maybe you got to make an adjustment. Maybe I just need to facilitate and get these dudes going because he's already a defensive liability. We see that. So, I'm putting this on Danny Ainge, man. This is on Danny Ainge. You got to get them dudes some help. And you can't be like, well, no, I'm going to address it next year. That window closing because everybody getting better.
Yeah. And
so that window closed this year. It's not closing. That window's closed for this year.
You know what I'm saying? I gotta agree with Pops on this, man. I really gotta agree with Pops.
There you go. First time. Yes.
We talk so much.
Agree to disagree first time.
Hey, man, it happens. We talk so much hoop, man. Me and Craig actually had this conversation a while ago. I never liked the Kemba Walker pickup. Jay, I thought you gave a great example with AI and the volume of shots that he got when he was with the Hornets. And then he comes here where even though he could have been, but he's not the first option when he came. So he had to make that adjustment. It didn't work with Kyrie, a scoring guard. You know what I'm saying? Like a dude that can put the ball in the basket. They need, like Jay said, a Terry Rozier, I think. But also, I don't think Brad Stevens should get as much blame. Pops made a great point, and Brian brought it up too. Danny Ainge came out and talked about how he constructed the team. But I think I'm not blaming them, but I think some of this is on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown too. You got two guys that are kind of one-dimensional. They're both killers, man. They remind me of when the Clippers first got Paul George and Kawhi, and whenever they got the ball, they kind of just went. Like they're trying to get a bucket. Now you can see this year, Paul George kind of taking a role of facilitating more, and Kawhi is the bucket getter. They have no one on that team looking to get other people involved. So how is those guys coming off the bench supposed to get any confidence or develop any flow if there's no offensive flow? Like when those two have the ball, it's going up. They trying to get a bucket. So I think their offense is just way different than what they used to be. Obviously, guys get better. That light gets bigger. That recognition gets bigger. So them two dudes are going. But I still think someone needs to take that backseat role. It could be Kemba or even Jaylen Brown or Tatum and kind of get some type of facilitating going on in their offense. Marcus Smart does hurt, but I think their offense is probably the biggest thing that I've seen that isn't Brad Stevens. Like that, when I watch them play and I see their offense, that doesn't say Brad Stevens. Go ahead, B.
Yeah, and you guys brought up good points. Like I said, when I mentioned Brad Stevens, I don't think he's doing the bad job. But when you have two superstars, young superstars at that, and you're not winning, either the GM goes or the coach has to go. You're not going to get rid of those players, right? You're going to obviously Kemba. He's hopefully he could turn it around, but that's what I meant by like the hot seat by start. And who knows? They might fire one of their guys. Obviously, Danny Ainge is one of the. He's a Celtic at heart. So if they let him go, yeah. But I think the coach is always the first one to be like, well, they could always say we gave you the pieces, it didn't work. We're gonna head in a different direction. because they have the young superstars.
Well, see,
I
that's the
just don't
thing.
think anyone goes. Ainge
No.
or I think Kemba goes before anybody.
He-
Honestly,
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't get him the pieces. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Now,
But he
Yes.
could say he did. He could say, I gave you Kyrie, I gave you Kemba, as a
he already
scapegoat.
publicly came out and said it. That's why I said I don't think anyone.
that's what Danny wanted. But now, if I were hypothetically, I'm just saying, if I were Danny Ainge, you know who would probably be the perfect piece for that team?
Let's get reckless, y'all.
Here it goes.
Let's get reckless.
Here it comes. This would be the perfect piece for that team. It would be Lonzo Ball. It would be Alonzo Ball because he doesn't need the ball and he plays deep and he facilitates. He don't want the ball.
I see it, Pops. I see where you're going with it.
Yeah,
I see
that's
it.
not bad. Can
Yeah,
I
I see
ask
it.
something real quick?
Let me tell you something. If you trade Kemba Walker, you better come up with you better get something more than Lonzo Ball.
Another first round pick.
Right now.
Well, I'm not saying that's the best thing to do, but in a sense, like you're saying, like the last couple of years has been like, who's going to be the man? Tatum or Brown. You know what I mean? So if you got one less guy taking shots,
off the gas, man.
well, but I'm just, and also too. I mean, I was going to say that before that, but if you take away Kimber and put in somebody's going to distribute the ball more, that's one less dude who need to take shots. You know what I mean? And secondly, I was talking to John about this earlier. Like when it comes to Brad Stevens, when you have a good coach who's good to great, it's hard to replace that coach with something better. So it's like good luck replacing him with somebody else. With Stevens, yeah, it's like you got good coaches on the sidelines right now that can't get a gig. So it's like
tomorrow,
right? So it's like
right away too.
Jay, you don't think Tatum and Brown need to facilitate a little more?
I don't know if that suits their games. I think what Pop said was good. At first, I'm like, but when I thought about it, Lonzo Ball's not bad. They need a guy. I think that's why they go to Pritchard more in certain situations because Pritchard is
a basketball player.
He gonna move that ball and then he gonna space the floor and make shots.
He plays the right way.
Yeah, they need a guy. I don't know if they can, Jay. I don't know if those dudes can sacrifice. I don't know if they have the game yet, like a Harden can do, where I can almost change my game and still be as effective playing this way. I don't think they can do it.
But we're all in agreement to saying they need some playmaking on that team.
Yeah, for sure. 100.
Yeah.
They just need a pure, like what's the kid with the dread? I mean, he be down there holding down defense too. He got the dread, young dude. Williams or something. He comes up.
He kind of athletic too.
Yes, I'm saying he does his role. You don't know what you get after that. Like he shuts it down. He's like, come on, man, Danny, get them dudes. I mean, them dudes. I like to see Jaylen Brown and Tatum play. I mean, I like it, but I hate the way they lost that game. And that means you're missing something.
Bro, their last few possessions were so bad, man. Like the shots they were taking, they look better if they're making them, but it just looked so bad.
John, you and I have had this conversation when we've talked. We've talked like when they was in the playoffs. Okay, look, man, we ain't scoring in 5 minutes. Your turn, my turn.
Yep.
See it.
Like.
So somebody makes it.
Let me see. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Let me get my change. I made it.
Yeah, but you can't put. This goes back to the playmaker part y'all talked about. You can't have Tatum running pick and roll the whole because I thought that's what New Orleans did towards the end. They just blitzed him every time, and so if he's the guy on the ball and you're blitzing him and you have no one else that can make shots, well then that's what the defense is designed to do. But if you have a playmaker and you put Tatum in that mid post, now that double team comes to the mid post. Them shots look a little bit different off them double teams than it is. You're basically double teaming, blitzing Tatum at half court. There's nothing he can do. Like he made the right basketball play by making the pass, and they just didn't. They would throw the ball right back to him or take a bad shot.
Let me tell you something, man. Love Lonzo, but he's not that guy.
Well, I get you.
He's a piece, though. Yeah, he's
How about
He's
I
not
mean, I
that
know
guy.
it never happened. I'm just dreaming. It'll never happen because I don't care what the Celtics do. I don't like them. But let's say they had somebody like a Mike Conley.
Yeah.
That's different. That's good. I'll take that.
You know what I'm saying? That know when to get a bucket and also know when to. I mean, it's just like you gotta have somebody that like, I really don't need a bucket. Kemba need that bucket, man. That's the only way his game can roll.
I like Mike Conley with Boston better than I do with Utah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Agreed.
Me
Yeah,
too.
he don't be having the ball like that in Utah. But
Utah will look way.
But he's been a big part with him
better than
healthy
Mike
this
Conley,
year.
though.
Yeah, he's been a big part of their success too. Though. Obviously, everybody's doing good, but like John said, like he's
about the team.
not the old Mike Conley, but he's helped
Yeah.
a lot out this year too.
But they need something, man. I
Always
blame
been an underrated player, man. But
True.
yeah, man.
I am a Brad
All right,
Stevens
man.
fan. Just throw
Let me
that
know
out.
down in the comments. Let me know down in the comments, man. What you guys think's going on with Boston, man? Is it playmaking? Is it Ainge? Is it Stevens? Kemba, Brown, Tatum, whoever. Let us know down in the comments, man. And thanks for tuning in. This is Agree to Disagree. Got my boy Jay Lloyd, BG, Craig, Pops.
America. John and I agreed. Yes, go.
And I'm John, man. Till next time. We out.